Hi, and welcome to today's Pick a Card reading. So, for today, our topic is why am I so invested in this relationship? This question was inspired by a series of questions that a viewer named Manisha asked me that were basically along the lines of why am I in this relationship? What is keeping me in the relationship? That kind of thing, you know? Basically, sometimes we might find ourselves in a relationship that might feel on some level like senseless. And so this reading is basically to try to figure out why we're in the relationship that we're in. It can be any kind of relationship, but I am gearing it more towards love, okay? Before I begin, though, I do want to mention psychological reasons why we get invested in relationships, because I think it's really important to talk about that side of things, because a pick a card reading can only go so far. So I figured, since this is going to probably apply to all of you guys, I wanted to start out saying, here are some reasons why we stay in relationships, okay? One reason is because of how much time we've invested in that relationship. The longer we've spent in a relationship, the harder it is to get out of it, because it feels like an investment, okay? Also, eventually, after enough time has gone on, you've shared enough life experiences with this person, or you've been through enough life experiences with a person, that it almost feels like you might cheapen those memories by going to somebody else or by leaving the relationship, okay? Generally, when we invest time into something, it becomes more valuable to us, okay? It's just a general psychological principle, okay? Another reason why we stay in relationships that, for whatever reason, might not make sense or whatever, is because of how hard the relationship is. If you've worked really hard on the relationship, if you find the relationship something that you find challenging, you find that it really pushes you to your limits and that kind of thing, a lot of people associate things that are hard with things that are valuable. And as a result, because, and I do want to say, it's because a lot of things that are really worth, investing in and keeping around were things that were hard, right? So generally, if a relationship is hard because some things have been overcome and things like that, or maybe because a person's challenged, that might be a reason why they're in a relationship. Another reason is just the feelings, okay? How much love or attachment, any kind of emotion is going to be a really powerful force. Now, for some people, emotions are stronger than others, and they act as more glue than others, okay? So I do understand that sometimes, if you're like me and you're not as in touch with your emotions, it might be like, well, I'm still stuck in this relationship, but I don't really feel that strongly, it's just, for some people, emotions are going to really anger them into a relationship. If you've never felt this way before, if there's, this thing that it just feels more than what it is, that kind of thing, then of course that relationship is going to have value, okay? Because it's releasing all of that dopamine and genuine feelings, okay? Feelings give us information about all aspects of our life. There's very valuable information in our feelings, and we should listen to them to make complete rational decisions, because it's ridiculous not to listen to your feelings. What's the point in making a decision if you're not going to like it, right? And then another reason is avoidance of pain. People will run towards something that makes them feel good, and they will avoid something that makes them feel bad, right? Well, sometimes we stay in relationships because we anticipate that the pain of leaving them is going to be really horrible. And usually it is, really. I mean, honestly, leaving a relationship is going to be hard, I do, just because I'm thinking about it right now, if you are in an abusive situation, you do have resources. There's ways that you can get out of that situation, please reach out to any resource you have in your area, okay? Please, because we're just talking about general relationships, not abusive relationships, okay? So yeah, avoidance of pain can be another reason why we stay in relationships, because we just don't want to feel bad. We don't want to make the other person feel bad, because there's also that, you know. It could be that maybe we'd love it, but we don't want to make our partner or our spouse or our girlfriend or our boyfriend feel bad, so we stay in it. Or it's because we don't want to feel bad, right? Because, you know, when we're in a relationship, generally, you know, feeling that loss is like going through a grieving process. So that said, I just wanted to go over the psychological reasons why a person might stay in a relationship. Okay, so I don't want to waste any more time. I just wanted to go ahead and point out which pile's which, okay? The yellow butterfly is pile number 1. Pile number 2 is the green butterfly. Pile number 3 is the pink butterfly. Pile number 4 is the blue butterfly. Pile number 5 is the white butterfly, and pile number 6 is the purple butterfly. And while you guys are picking your pile, I do want to tell you which cards I'm using. The one on top is called the Soul's Journey Lesson Cards. That's by James von Prague. We're also using just a standard Rider-Waite tarot deck. We have the Gilded Reverie Lenormand. We have Chakra Wisdom Oracle cards, Denise Lynn's Sacred Traveler Oracle cards, and I'm pretty certain that's it. I'm trying to think. Yeah, that's it. So that's what we're going to be working with today. So if you have not made your decision, please pause the video now so you can make your decision. Otherwise, we are going to start with pile number 1. All right, pile number 1. Those of you who picked the yellow butterfly, here's your reading. So we have blame. Okay, again, it's why am I so invested in this relationship? Okay, we have blame. Okay. We have the Lenormand. We have a secret followed by an ending. Okay. So, oh, it's because, yeah, okay, that makes sense. We have acceptance and complacency. Oh, that's interesting. We have protected by angels. This is the guidance card. I always have a guidance card in my videos. So we've got the Hermit, the Ace of Swords, and Justice. Oh, wow. These are really important cards. Okay. So let me go ahead and start with the Lenormand because the message here is really clear. To me, when we have the book, we're talking about knowledge or secrets, okay? You know, we're talking about information, okay? And when we've got the information is dead, it's like the information is like stopped. What we have is that it's like that's a perfect breeding ground for curiosity, okay? So if you find yourself really invested in a situation, it's because there's some kind of information that this person's withholding from you. You know that they're withholding the information from you, and it's really compelling, okay? This might show up in a romantic relationship as somebody who is holding back their feelings from you, for example. That would be a really good example of that. We also have blame. Okay, I accept responsibility for my well-being. So it's kind of like there's an aspect of you that feels, and this is either going to be true for you or for your person. Okay, I am getting the impression that most of this I'm going to be talking about the viewers. Okay, and it's like there's a part of you that feels like it's this person's job to make you feel better or job to make you feel a certain way. Now, this can happen like when we have expectations about the way people are supposed to treat us, or maybe we treat people in a certain way and we expect some kind of give and take back, you know? And I'm not necessarily saying that expectations are unreasonable or anything like that, because it's just human to have expectations, right? But not everybody is going to return their affection or feelings or gestures in the same way, in the same language that you use. And I'm not necessarily talking about love languages, although that can play a part in this. I just mean that I have this one guy friend who is married, and his wife was talking to me one day, and she said, gosh, and I never get compliments. And I was all like, your husband doesn't compliment you? And so later on, I was talking to the guy friend of mine, and I was all like, why aren't you complimenting your wife? You know, it's ridiculous. So, you know, you can practice here. Just practice. Say, you're beautiful. You're, you know. And he was like, well, I've already told her once. Why do I need to tell her again? You know, some people just, that's the way they are. You know, they don't think to have to say something more than once, because why would they change their mind about it? They'll update you when they change their mind, that kind of thing. That's just one example. Now, another thing we do is we have here is that we have the Hermit. I think this is a really important card coming up, especially when we talk about, you know, kind of withholding information. Hermit types, you know, especially introverts. Now, just because a hermit comes up doesn't mean that it has to be an introvert, okay? But people who are withdrawing, people who are introverts, people who are doing a lot of soul searching can sometimes seem like they're holding back their feelings and their thoughts and all of that, when what it really is that it takes them longer to process those feelings and those thoughts. And I mean, it can take months to process stuff like that. I know for me, it has in the past taken me up to 6 months to even process that I actually like somebody. I'm not kidding. There's actually there is an actual example of a person in my life that I knew I was really attracted to this person, that I felt connected to the person in some way, you know, and that kind of thing. But I didn't actually know that I liked them for about 6 months into my relationship with this person. I couldn't tell. I knew it was strong. But I couldn't, like, I know it's going to sound crazy, but I couldn't even tell if I liked this person or didn't like this person. I just knew that I felt compelled to find out more information about this person. And I know that sounds horribly out of touch with your feelings, but that's the way I am sometimes. Sometimes I just can't figure it out. So sometimes people really do need a lot of time to process things. So it could be that, okay? We also have justice. Okay, when we have justice, of course, that has to do with, you know, especially when we've got the blame card, talking about equal give and take and stuff like that. But another thing is that it's like sometimes we just need to hear the truth, and especially when we're talking about knowledge, we need that truth. Okay, so that might be another thing that's kind of gluing you to this person. Justice can also talk about bringing in the head and the heart. It could be that this person's head and heart isn't aligned yet, okay? With the Ace of Swords, though, this is very fortuitous, and I really feel like this is like basically your answer. Like, is this person going to come forward with their feelings or with whatever the information is? The Ace of Swords is saying, yes, there's going to be new communication, okay? So I would say, you know, between this card and this card, which we'll get to in a minute, it looks like this is still a positive situation. I'm not getting a negative feel from it. I'm getting more of like a neutral feel for it, and like this kind of curiosity and this feeling of anticipation. So we have acceptance. Sorry, my cat lies on this and constantly getting her fur on it. So we have acceptance and complacency, okay? I think it's really interesting that we get complacency and the Hermit here, because sometimes when we get into that Hermit energy, it might seem like we're being complacent. So I feel like this is going to be a lot more true for your person. Okay, that maybe they seem a little complacent, like, oh yeah, just whatever, you know, and they're not really committing to positivity or negativity. They're just, you know, being like whatever. And then for some of you guys, and you'll know exactly who you are, the reason you're still in this relationship, the reason you're invested in this relationship is because you don't really know anything else, and this is the easiest thing. We tend to take the easiest path, the path of least resistance, right? And then we have acceptance, okay? And I think that this is talking about how your person needs to come to terms with whatever their secret is, or whatever it is that they're withholding, okay? And I just want to reiterate that it might be you that's withholding, but for most of you, it's going to be your person. So here is another reason why we've got protected by angels. You're cherished by the angels. I picked this deck specifically because it's really no nonsense. And I'm not saying that angels are nonsense. I'm not at all. But it's really no nonsense. Very grounding messages and things like this. But this particular card comes out kind of as it's so spiritual. It's so ethereal that it's really, it can sometimes be a difficult card to interpret, right? Especially if we're looking for a more grounded message. So another reason why you're so invested in this relationship could probably be, and probably it's this for all of you, is that there is some higher reason for you to be in this relationship, whether you want to call that angels or God, or your spirit guides, or whatever is the glue, okay, that's keeping your relationship together, is that it's been ordained somehow. It's somehow on a soul level, and that's gluing you into this situation. That doesn't necessarily mean that you can't say no to it, okay? You can still walk away from a situation that's on a soul level. It's just a lot more difficult. But I think that the central card, as far as why, is we've got more information for you, okay? And the central card for what's going to happen next is the Ace of Swords, saying, there is going to be some more communication, and you are going to figure out what that is, okay? All right, guys, so hopefully that makes sense for you. And there's your reading. All right, hi, those of you who picked the green butterfly, pile number 2, here is your reading. Okay, so this is the guidance card. It's passion and pleasure. Okay, we've got gratitude, we've got balance. We have the mountain, and the mountain is, gosh, what am I trying to say? The mountain is supported by the whip and broom, okay? We have the Queen of Cups, the Queen of Pentacles, the Ace of Cups, and then we have fear. Okay, wow, so this is an interesting one. I wanna deal with this right here first, because I think it's really important to, yeah, I'm just thinking, because it's very evocative for me to look at this mountain and then the whip and broom. Okay, the whip and broom can sometimes have to do with, I guess, like kinky stuff, okay? So I don't want to leave that out. But generally, the whip and broom, it represents something that's tedious, or something that happens over and over again. Like think of somebody who is sweeping their house, and they have to do this repetitive motion over and over and over again. So it's like tedium, okay? Or it can mean that it's like persistence, right? And then we've got the mountain is a big thing here in the Lenormand. So we're talking about something that there's an obstacle there. It doesn't mean that the obstacle is permanent. It's just that you're whipping away, basically, or you're working away at, I meant chipping away. Okay, you're chipping away at an obstacle, a big obstacle that might even seem insurmountable. So, again, we have this idea that sometimes, because a situation is hard, it feels more valuable. I actually feel like this might not resonate for all of you, but maybe 80% of you, you'll be like, oh, okay, all right, yeah, that's going on. It's just that it feels like there's some kind of, like, obstacle there. But here's the thing, though. We have 2 cards, and you'll see that they're purple. They've got the purple borders. They're both centered on the third eye chakra, right? And the third eye chakra has to do with, like, the visionary, the idea of being able to see what is truly there, So we might see a big mountain in our way, a big obstacle in our way, but the truth is that there's something more, okay? So one thing that you might experience in this particular relationship is that the sensory, the facts, the sensory is not lining up with the intuitive, okay? That can be very stressful sometimes, and it can also make you feel like you're going crazy. I know it makes me feel like I'm going crazy sometimes, but that alone can cause a person to feel so uncomfortable with the situation that it actually might cause too much stress to even continue. I'm only saying that because I've seen it happen to people where they just get too stressed out from the two things not seeming to be aligned. And then the beauty about that is that the intuition is right. And when they let it go, that's when things start happening the way that they thought they were supposed to. So, I mean, it doesn't matter, We also have fear. I want to read this blurb. I realize that I'm testing my resolve to live in the energy of love. I think that there is this duality in your life, you the viewer, when you're thinking about your person, that it's like part of you really doubts it, but most of you really believes in it. Maybe you don't believe in your person, maybe you don't believe in you, but you believe in the us, you believe in the relationship. And this is just giving you that thumbs up, like keep believing. Because as long as you are putting love into it, then there's going to be something positive that you'll be getting out of it, okay? But if you're staying in this relationship because you're afraid, then that's going to be something that you're going to have to challenge within yourself, okay? That could even be the obstacle here, right? Okay, so we've got gratitude and balance. You guys are in this relationship because it's an equal give and take, okay? When it's going well, it's a really equal give and take. You guys can get a lot out of each other. You also feel that the other is like a blessing in your life, like very like kind of came out of nowhere, and it's like, oh wow, like a person like this actually exists. This is crazy, And then we've got the balance, and this can sometimes talk about the heart and the head. We got justice for the one previous to you guys, and it's a little bit different because justice is a little bit more straightforward. That it's like kind of like you have to blend the head and the heart. But with this one, balance is more about kind of trying to get into that. Oh, it's almost like that Goldilocks feeling of just right, but it's like it just works for you guys. You don't feel like you have to. It's almost like you don't feel like you have to walk on eggshells around each other, that kind of thing. Okay? And then here's the real meat of everything, okay? You guys have a lot of genuine emotion going on between the two of you. And this makes sense for the two of you on two levels. On one level, it makes sense in your emotional life, okay? Emotionally, intuitively, this is making sense. We've got the Queen of Cups representing that, okay? And then we've got the Queen of Pentacles. Another reason why this makes sense, and it doesn't necessarily have to be money, it could be some kind of material thing, is that this person somehow either improves your status, improves your wealth, and that makes sense that way. Or maybe it's like, it might be just what I said previously, like this person exists. Wow, that's great. Like this person has manifested for you and this is exactly what you wanted, I guess, this kind of person to be like, that kind of thing. But we're talking about the emotional and intuitive world, and we're talking about the material and more of that kind of material possession world. These are the two worlds where the two of you really make sense, okay? And then we've got the Ace of Cups, which is great because it's letting us know that the more you guys focus on the emotional side of it, the better it's going to be. And that's what really needs to start, is both of you focusing on it. Your person might not be willing to. That's the only problem here. So basically, one reason why you're so invested in this is that it makes sense in a couple of different ways, because it's something that you've worked for, it's something you feel blessed about, it's something that's easy. like when it is going well, it's very easy, and because you know there's something more to talk about, and that's the emotional part. This needs to happen. This means you guys just need to start talking about your emotions more. Okay? And we have, this is the advice card, okay? Passion and pleasure, savor your life. You know, sometimes we get afraid to be too, like, we get afraid to say too much about how we're feeling. It's really interesting. Something I've found as I've gotten older and less scared to talk about my emotions around people, is that people really like that vulnerability. And I think that sometimes passion is called for in the way you express yourself, because that's what that person needs to hear. They need to hear that conviction behind it. It doesn't necessarily have to be sensual, although that, given that we've got this, you know, this earthy, like, you know, very sensate card here, maybe sensuality is what this is pointing at. But what I think it is, just because we've got the Ace of Cups here, is that I really think that this is pointing towards, get a little bit, you know, don't be afraid to get carried away by your emotions from time to time, okay? Because you're already in a balanced state, okay? So it's not like you're going to come off as crazy or anything like that, okay? And when your person's being that way, really savor it. But yeah, this looks like a positive situation, though. I really feel like the Ace of Cups is what's telling you what's going to happen next, which is the next step in this relationship is talking about emotions, okay? And you can even do that being like, oh, I like chocolate ice cream better than vanilla, okay? You're still talking about what you like, you know? I mean, it doesn't have to be, you know, relationship emotions. It doesn't have to be about the other person, you know? It can be just talking about how different things make you feel, you know? Like, I feel uncomfortable when it's too cold in the room, you know, that kind of thing, right? So yeah, just focus on that, and things should really start to improve, okay? Alrighty. Hi, pile number 3. Those of you who picked the pink butterfly, here is your reading. We have transformation, joy, perseverance. Oh, wow. So we've got the key modified by the ring, okay? We have the King of Wands, we have the 6 of Coins, and we have the Hanged Man, and we have health. I will honor the physical vessel that enshrines my soul. Okay. Yeah, so one reason why you're invested in this relationship, and please, if you're in an unhealthy situation, don't listen to me, do something about it, okay? Because I really don't want somebody to stay in an abusive situation, okay? Seriously, we're talking about healthy relationships, okay? One reason why you're so invested in this relationship is because you feel yourself becoming a better person when you're in this relationship. It's really causing you to take a good, hard look at yourself and challenging who you are, and getting to the point where you're looking at yourself in different ways than you have in the past, okay? Like really evaluating who you are as a person and a personality and that kind of thing. You're invested in this because this person is really, it's really this literal. It's like this person is a big key to yourself. It's almost like they've unlocked you. It's almost like this person can reach inside of you and pull out the truth, you know? And that can be very intoxicating. So this person is key in your life, okay? And with the ring, we've got this contract, basically, okay? So you can interpret that in many different ways. Some might say, well, that means a soul contract. It really could. Some people could interpret this as like, oh, a promise ring or an engagement ring. All I know is that the ring is modifying the key, letting us know that this person is key, and the reason that they're key is because of some kind of contract. It's like there's some kind of pattern that this is supposed to follow, and this is kind of in that contract, okay? You know, so for example, let me just give an example, because I mean, I did with the soul contract or an engagement. It could be like, you know, maybe you work with this person, so you've signed an agreement that you're going to work with the company, that kind of thing, okay? So that's what I mean by that. Okay, so we have some direction cards, which I think is really great. We've got perseverance. This is letting you know that you're supposed to be in this relationship. I wasn't expecting to get a card like that, and I didn't get one in the first two readings, but it really looks like you're supposed to be in this relationship because we have perseverance and joy, which is letting me know that you're becoming stronger and you're kind of stepping more into your own personal power. When we combine that with health, it feels really good. It feels right. King of Wands is all about taking action. The King of Wands also talks a lot about passion, okay? Controlled passion, though. Can be sensuality, right? And the reason I say controlled is that when, of all of the wands, we get to the very, very top, and it's the king, right? It doesn't go past the king, right? And the King of Wands represents the mastery over the subject, okay? And the subject with wands is fire, passion, action, that kind of thing, okay? We also have a nice balance, okay? The Six of Coins for me is always about balance, okay? So we have a nice balance going on here. Then the Hanged Man really seals the deal for me because it's like you're really supposed to be looking at this as a way of looking at yourself in different ways, or looking at the world in different ways, and the relationship in different ways, that kind of thing. It really is changing the way you view things, and that's, that's another really, that's a good reason to be invested in a relationship, because when we change, we can then transform, right? So we have transformation here. A fresh new way of living emerges. I really feel this is supposed to be your guidance card here, and I really feel like it's also a prophetic card as well, because it's talking about how this relationship is in the process of changing. And given that we've got perseverance and joy, we've got the King of Wands, the key, which is great, health, it all feels like it's a positive progression. It feels like it's a positive transformation. So I really think that you're in this relationship overall because it's the right thing to be in right now. It's what you're supposed to be focusing on. And it's positive in your life. It makes your life happier. So yeah, that's your reading. I mean, you've got some really great cards here. So it doesn't look like I don't see anything that shows that there's an unhealthy attachment, basically, is what I'm trying to say. All right, hi. Those of you who picked the blue butterfly, here's your card. Here's your reading. We've got stepping into power. We have grief. We have isolation. Oh, interesting. We have the cross modified by the child. It's interesting. We have the Four of Wands. We have the Six of Cups. We have the Wheel of Fortune, and we have courage. How interesting is this? Some of you guys might, I don't feel like it's all of you, but some of you guys might be in this situation. And it's like, maybe you were together with this person and then you lost touch. Or maybe you were friends with this person and you lost touch and then you came back together with this person. Or there's been a period of time where there hasn't been any activity and it's happening again. For those of you who don't resonate with that, please don't worry that that's going to happen, because I feel like this would be in the past, okay? And the reason I say that is that we've got the grief and isolation cards combined with the Six of Cups, which tends to be talking about childhood. It tends to. It's, plus the child. So that's where I'm getting that. Also, the Wheel of Fortune kind of going up and down on the Wheel of Fortune is another reason. So here's the deal. You're with this person because you're supposed to be with this person. However, it just looks to me like there might be some issues here with this person that might feel like it might feel like things aren't fair right now, okay? And if that is something that you can't handle, or you feel is just you can't be in this situation because it's just that unfair, then I would really strongly suggest that you get out of the situation, because unless you see that this grief and isolation, or you've gone through some kind of grief and isolation already and it's purposeful, then it's going to be very difficult to be in this relationship, for a time. We are getting that the relationship will come back around. So even if you left it, the relationship would still want to happen. Basically, it would still follow its own inertia. But we do have these kind of negative cards just kind of describing the energy surrounding it right now. Now, I do want to mention that this could just be pointing at somebody who is an introvert, or somebody who, with grief, somebody who has issues with depression, okay? It could be talking about somebody who has lost somebody recently. Maybe somebody in their life has passed away recently, that kind of thing. So it doesn't necessarily mean, this doesn't necessarily have to characterize a relationship. It could characterize the people involved, okay? You're going to have to take what resonates with you. This is a general reading, so obviously it's going to apply in different ways to different people. It's just that when I get into the energy of this and I'm thinking, okay, what does this mean if this is the energy of the relationship? It feels difficult, okay? When I get into this and I'm thinking, okay, this could also have to do with like introverted energy and maybe somebody who has depression. It feels like that's true for some of you guys. So the issue would be more like making sure the depression is treated in some way. Being sensitive to the idea that introverted energy is going to have a different feel than extroverted energy. And then I also get that, it could be a plethora of things. But it just feels like this could be a warning for some of you, okay? But yeah, we've got this feeling like something was missed, so maybe one of the reasons why you're watching this is like, is this even gonna happen? That kind of thing, or like, is this even going to come to anything? And the answer is yes. It's a very sweet relationship, okay? And the Wheel of Fortune for me has always kind of been about fate. Has always kind of been about how, this is meant to happen. So whether you stick with it or you just walk away from it, it's going to happen regardless, okay? This is also coming up as being a spiritual thing, okay? This is probably a spiritual connection that you have with this person, and you're really going through a lot of childhood issues with this person. That could be why there's grief and isolation, because this person might not have felt like they could talk to anybody about this until they met you, okay? So that could also be going on. But when we have the cross and the child here, we're talking about something spiritual that's unlocking some of the trauma that we have from childhood. Now, the cross can be like a dual thing, though, because it can also be about, one's cross to bear. It could also be about a burden, okay? And it can be burdensome to open yourself up and, release that kind of energy, okay? Because you have to work through it before you can release it. But I think it's really interesting because, we've got the child here, and then we've got the children and depicted in this, and it's like, well, we're also talking about just getting to the point where we can be lighthearted and we can kind of release everything that makes us feel burdened and all the responsibilities and that kind of stuff, and we can feel more lighthearted again, that kind of thing. I find the inner strength to face fear with confidence. One thing that's really going to make this relationship or break it is whether or not you believe that it can work, okay? If you feel like this relationship is like, this can work, I can make this work, or me and this person can make this relationship work, then absolutely stick with it. If you can't find that inside of yourself, it's going to be difficult until you do find it, basically. And then we have stepping into power. You're strong beyond measure, okay? I think that for some of you guys, especially with the grief and isolation card coming up, we've got this testing your ability to respond appropriately to a situation. I can't tell you what the appropriate response is. I can just say that in this situation, you're being challenged to respond in a way that increases your power, not decreases your power, okay? So if you're ever in a relationship with somebody that gives you this feeling of being a lesser, okay? Lesser than who you are or who you're meant to be. That is basically an invitation to become more powerful than that feeling, okay? Because nobody should have that much power over you. Now, stepping into power can also be that as you're going through these issues, and as you're going, and as even your person might be going through these issues, that they're stepping into their own power. And so this is supposed to be a very empowering relationship for you. So do keep that in mind as well. I want to acknowledge I have gotten a whole lot of different things about this, and I just want to say, for those of you who picked the blue pile, I apologize if I'm not being as clear as maybe you expect me to be. But this group, I feel like there's just so many different situations going on in this group that I've got to speak to each situation. And so some of this is going to really resonate and some of it's not at all, okay? So I do want to acknowledge that I apologize if this particular reading is unclear for you, okay? Alrighty. Hi, those of you who picked the white butterfly, here is your reading. We have courage, take action with passion. We have despondence, completion. Okay, so we've got the rider, and we've got the two paths, okay? And the rider is supporting the paths, okay? So we've got the Three of Pentacles, we've got the Two of Swords, and we've got the Ace of Wands, and we have relationships. Okay, so this person is good for you, okay? This person does serve your higher good. That's what this card's all about. Here's something that I just want to mention about this, especially if you're a lady or if you're interested in men. When people learn the Lenormand, people are going to learn it differently, and they're going to interpret it differently, okay? I mean, that's just the way it is with divination. Even if the Lenormand's a little bit more literal than, say, the tarot. But the writer, for those of you who know what I'm talking about, just bear with me. And for those of you who don't, just to inform you, we've got the lady and the gentleman present in the Lenormand as signifiers, okay? One of them is the querent, and the other one represents that querent's spouse or partner, okay? Well, the rider represents the other man, okay, in a relationship. And for those of you who are curious, like, well, what represents the other woman? That's the snake, okay? So the rider typically represents the other man. So those of you who are asking about a person that might be the other man in this situation, the person, this might be that one of the paths is leading to a different person, okay, than you're currently with. And that this is just confirming that that's the topic, okay? For those of you who that does not apply to, or even for those of you who it does, what I feel like this message is more about a very quick decision is going to need to be made in this situation, okay? And then the rest of this is going to tell us what that decision is, okay? It actually goes very well, actually, with the message. We've got despondence, okay? So when we get stuck in despondence and, we're not taking action, right? We're in this place where we feel blindfolded. We don't know which decision to make, so we've got the paths, okay? It's depicted in this particular Lenormand as two staircases with two doors, okay? And we've got the indecisive card, right? At least that's one way that this card is interpreted. Okay, so when we've got that, and then we've got despondence, well, what that call is a call to action, okay? You've got to complete whatever needs to happen in order for this relationship to work. What I believe that's going to be, knowing that this relationship is a healthy relationship for you and a positive one, is you've got to compliment your person a little bit more, okay? And if you are the kind of person that needs compliments, needs to be told, that you're good and all of that, ask for feedback. I mean, I guess it might be a little bit weird to go up to your person and be like, I would like some feedback. But, ask to be complimented. Say, it makes me feel really special when you tell me what you like about me. That kind of thing. or just be like, oh, I'm just kind of playing a little game and trying to come up with like something that I like about people. And so, I'm going to tell you something I like about you, and I'd like for you to tell me something that you like about myself, and that kind of thing. That kind of thing might be something that needs to happen. Just some kind of exchange of compliments and some kind of exchange of you're doing a good job, a pat on the back, that kind of thing. And then we've got the Ace of Wands, which is really going to resolve everything. And then, of course, this Valiant Courage, take action with passion. Both of these cards are essentially saying the same thing, okay? The Ace of Wands is all about new action, new passion, okay? The Wands represent fire in the tarot, okay? It represents desire, passion, it represents action, it represents, sometimes it can represent impulse, yeah. Sometimes it can represent sexual energy too. But when you've got this card coupled with take action with passion, right? And you've got two decision cards, like, okay, you've got to either go one way or the other, right? And you've got despondence, like, okay, well, this is the problem. Somebody's not taking action. You've got right here, like, basically telling you exactly what needs to happen. Some action needs to take place. Sometimes people don't realize that inaction of any sort is worse than action of any sort, whether it's positive or negative. It's really interesting. But just do something. And if this is a relationship where you're really uncomfortable in the situation or something like that, you doing something doesn't necessarily have to be you interacting with the person. It can be something like, I'm going to learn something new about myself. Maybe this will help. Or I'm going to write down my dreams and see if that gives me any guidance about the situation. Action doesn't necessarily have to be direct, Of course, well, this is just my own personal opinion. When I'm faced with a situation that's got these sort of components in it, I tend to know what the action's supposed to be, But if you don't know, or if you don't feel like doing whatever that action is supposed to be, at least do something, okay? But just know that swift action, a swift message, a swift decision needs to be made, that kind of thing, all right? And I really feel like I don't even need to tell you what it is. I feel like you know what you're supposed to be doing here. All right. Hi, those of you who picked the purple butterfly, here is your reading. We have fogged in. Okay, impatience, growth. Okay, this is important. Yeah, we've got the clouds. That's reinforcing this fogged in, okay, the clouds. And we've got the home. Okay, this is interesting. We have the Seven of Swords, we have the Knight of Swords, and we have the Four of Cups. And we have service. I feel good when I can help others. Okay, you guys, this is a really interesting one. I'm going to kind of... Okay, I'm going to read for the one that strikes me the most, okay? But I can tell you that if this doesn't resonate, just keep watching because there's another message here, okay? For those of you who are in a situation, like some kind of domestic situation where you want to be with somebody who might be married right now or might be already involved with somebody, what this is telling you is to just do whatever it is that makes their life easier, okay? Wait for the relationship to grow more, okay? Right now isn't the time to take swift action, okay? And if the person that you have on your mind is not responding to you in a way that maybe you would like, it's not because they don't know what's going on. It's because they don't know how to handle it yet, okay? And so that's what's going on there. For those of you who that doesn't apply to, or those of you who it does but just need more clarification, we've got a situation where somebody's really confused in the situation, okay? It could be you, it could be your person. I feel like it's kind of equal between like the viewers and all of that, so keep that in mind. It could be both of you, but we've got this kind of like fuzzy thinking. It's like you got to get clear about what's going on, okay? And this has to do with intimacy or the home, okay? So we don't invite people into our home that we don't feel comfortable with, which is why I mentioned that the home has to do with intimacy, or it could be the home life, okay? Maybe a child, or, maybe something like that, okay? Again, we've got fogged in combined with the clouds, just kind of doubling down on somebody's just not thinking very clearly. This can sometimes come up when somebody is having some anxiety or maybe even depression, problem sleeping. It can even come up if somebody's sick, okay? And it could just be like, wait until the person feels better, okay? What your direction, what direction to go in this relationship to get it to the point where it's the best place it can be, is really going to be doing what you can to make this person's life easier, not harder, okay? Because the reason we stick with the relationships is because it makes our lives easier and not harder. That's pretty much that's a really simplified way of saying why people get married, basically, okay? I think that both of you, both the viewer and your person, at times struggle with impatience in this situation, okay? Sometimes you just want something to happen already, and it's been on both sides. But where it is right now, and it just makes me feel uncomfortable, because I feel that for some of you guys it's so urgent. It feels like it's so important for it to happen now, and all of that. It's just you gotta let it grow stronger and stronger and stronger until it basically becomes the only option there is, and this will clear up, okay? In this card especially, I love this card because it shows both the clouds and the sun really clearly. Not all the Lenormand cards that's the clouds, number 6, not all of them show it that clearly. But it's like, this is just a time where things are a little bit foggy. You've got to wait for that to pass. Now, one thing that you might resort to, like, manipulation in this situation. This is saying don't do that, okay? This can also refer to any kind of guilt about maybe being in a situation where maybe, for example, you might be interested in somebody who's married or somebody who's paired up. This card can refer to guilt. In this particular story here, this character has snuck into the enemy camp and it's trying to steal all their weapons so that they, to ensure that they'll be successful, and it's like, it's cheating, right? But it's like they're trying to stack things, they're trying to stack things in their favor and everything. And so it warns against manipulation, okay? That's the message of this. It doesn't necessarily mean that you're being manipulated or anything. It just warns against manipulation. The Knight of Swords, sometimes you really need to talk about something, and that will happen really quickly. If this is you, wait. If it's not you, this means that your person's going to try to get a hold of you really soon. And this card is really about not being willing yet to look at the entire situation, okay? It's like there's this obvious offer being made, okay? But this person is somehow either missing it or they're not looking directly at it. It's like they're not ready yet to accept that. Okay, it doesn't mean that they won't accept it. It just means that they're not ready yet. So let's go back to the original question. Why am I so invested in this relationship? It's because it's supposed to grow. It's because that it's supposed to be, it's supposed to be a relationship that you're in. Okay, it's positive. It's healthy. I'm not seeing anything that says that it's unhealthy. Unless you really want to judge a situation that might be somebody being involved in a third-party situation. You'd have to really, really be judgmental to do that, though. And I understand that some people, that's just a line that cannot be crossed at all. So, I'm not saying that, I'm morally supportive of, breaking up families or anything, because I'm not. I'm just saying that, everybody has their own path to follow, and for some people, this is the path, But it's just, it feels like it's healthy because it is growing, and it is something that is helpful for your person. The person, the viewer, you're in this person's life to help them, okay? And you're really taking a big load off, okay? So even though they might not be at a place to help you back yet, at least not in the way that you want them to, they will get there. They're just not ready yet. You know, impatience can make you feel like, well, why am I in this? Ugh, why am I even in this relationship when it's not, you know, maybe it doesn't seem like it's going anywhere or whatever. Just things need to get clearer for your person. Things need to get clearer. They need to see clearly what is being offered here, and they've got to figure out what that decisive action is, okay? And that's it. Okay? Alrighty. Oh, thank you so much for staying until the end of my video. For those of you who are wondering, I am going to post a video tomorrow, okay? So be looking for that. And I'm definitely working really hard to make sure that these videos are going up more quickly, okay? I'm working on that very hard. It can sometimes be difficult when, you know, you've got computer problems, stuff like that, but I'm working on it. Really, really looking forward to all the new stuff coming out. I know that a lot of you guys are too. And if you would like a private reading, that, you know, anything like that is going to be in the description, okay? I appreciate you guys so much. If you enjoyed this video, check out some of my others. You know, you can like and subscribe if you want. I know that's what people say a lot in these YouTube videos. I always feel dirty saying that though. But I can say that the amount of support that I've gotten from like comments and subscriptions and stuff like that has been amazing for me. And it does mean a lot to me. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much, and I will see you tomorrow with tomorrow's pick a card reading.